Excuse me. With a terror unlike any. They were warned to stay away.
I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, a guy like that, he's just the kind of guy we need at the party tonight.
Duncan, it's a slumber party.
No one wants to slumber with you. Slumber outside.
Oh. Michael, don't you dare try any more of your stupid tricks! What the hell was that? It's Maria. It's Juliet. Oh, God. Oh, my God. Calm down. What do you mean? She's dead. Susie's right. He could still be in the house. We should all leave. But what if he's outside? We should call the police. Isn't there a phone up here? They're not going to listen to me. They think I'm playing a joke.
You're not being nice.
Fuck you!
What a waste. You did this!
He's got somebody. Wait, Jackie.
Uncle Billy has something for you. Come and get it.
Hi, this is Russell Todd from Chopping Mall, He Knows You're Alone, and Friday the 13th Part 2, and you're listening to The Hysteria Continues.
And indeed you are. Welcome back to The Hysteria Continues. I believe this is episode 171. And this time we're returning for another bout of Driller Killer with Slumber Party Massacre Part 3 from 1990. And this is, I think this is a Nathan pick, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Only be a Nathan pick, surely.
Of course,
Yes.
of course. Well, how are you doing, Nathan? You're very excited to be covering this, the third and final so far part of the Slumber Party Massacre series.
Yes, because the Slumber Party Massacre is my favorite series altogether, so I'm very excited.
Fantastic. And how are you doing on this
The
fine
Slumber
morning?
Party Massacre series is his favorite altogether. You guys should have joined me on that one.
Very good.
Very good. Oh dear. Hold on. So, but anyway, Nathan. Apart from that, how are you doing?
Stupendous.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, it's a new word every time. Brilliant. And Joseph, how are you doing?
My name is Joseph Henson, and I did it all for the Nookie.
Well, so we heard. Yes. Well, glad we're all back together again. And Erik, are you happy to be part of the gang? Bang.
I am, and I did it all for the cookie. Mm-hmm.
Fair enough. Well, I'm good. Apart from I had a near real life fatal destination moment yesterday morning. When?
Oh, so did I.
Did you? I know that's funny, isn't it? Maybe this is
Yeah.
going to be something that's going to. You can tell us what maybe if you want to what happened. But with me, I was setting up. There was a charity sale that we were helping set up on Friday morning, and we set the tables up, and we went back on Saturday to put stuff out. And half the tables are blown down, so we started putting them back up again, these kind of 6-foot trestle tables. But it's obviously the wind had blown them down, and there was this massive gust of wind came down. It took 5 of these 6-foot plywood trestle tables 20 foot in the air, spinning through the air, and just kind of missed people by a few inches.
Ooh.
Wow.
So that was our final destination moment. So we were discussing it today and saying, well, if the person it nearly hit dies in a freak accident, we've got to work out who would have died next.
Yeah.
So, but you survived a near death experience as well, didn't you, Joseph?
Yeah, it wasn't like very Final Destination-esque. Like it wasn't like a Rube Goldberg thing, but I was basically just driving down this road called Gun Barrel Road, which is very heavily trafficked, and there was like a line of cars in one lane, and I was in the turning lane, and another car like jolted in front of these other cars right in front of me, and I had to like slam on my brakes. And this is the first time I've had to slam on my brakes in like 10 or 15 years. I mean, literally had to like push as hard as I could to get the car to stop in time. And it's like, so my heart just jumped into my throat, and I was like trying to scream at the other driver, but I couldn't even do that because I was just like too terrified. So they got away from my wrath, unfortunately.
Were you mad at them?
Yeah. I mean, it's like, I thought I was about to die.
Well, that's not very nice. And of course, then you had another horrible experience, didn't you, when Erik accidentally video called us all while you were driving?
Yeah, I was driving and I saw like this video thing on Facebook, and I was like, "What are they doing?" And I'm like, and it's raining extremely hard, so I had to like pull over just to let the rain pass because I couldn't see. And then I just saw Erik's face pop up on a video thing. I was like, "Uh oh."
Okay, it was my living room ceiling that actually phoned you all, as you could see.
Oh, yeah, because that's what I saw.
And my flatmate goes, "There's some voices coming from your phone." And I was like, "What?"
So you still don't know what you done?
Well, no, I was on Messenger looking back at some conversation we were having, and I must have accidentally hit the is it Messenger video live chat or something button, and then just walked off.
That's
I was wearing clothes.
Yes, it was actually, wasn't it? Or if it could have been indulging in some nefarious activity.
Chance to be a fine thing. I don't believe in higher powers or higher forces, but it almost seems like someone was trying to get us not to do this episode today.
Well, they didn't succeed.
Yeah, surely this would have happened for the Death Nurse episode.
No.
Yes. Yeah.
Why y'all gotta hate? Why you gotta be haters?
I would have welcomed sweet death then.
Did I ever tell y'all about my near miss with death?
No, go on.
Well, I was using the bus, and I was waiting for the one that I was going to get on. This has been a really long time ago, and I just had this weird feeling. It was like, don't get on this bus. There's going to be an awful crash. So I didn't get on it.
And was there an awful crash?
No, because I didn't get on it.
Oh, so you would have caused the awful crash.
Well, I'm assuming.
Wow.
I don't think it works. It's a bit like someone's was about to get on the Titanic and decided not to at the last moment. Then you could claim that as a near-death experience, but not if you got on the Queen Mary and it didn't sink.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Sorry to rain on your parade.
I had a premonition. It wasn't that I didn't get on it. I had a feeling, and I followed my feelings.
So you didn't get
the future by not getting on the bus, you see.
Yes. Oh.
Well, as they say,
can I borrow a feeling?
Yeah, it was the butterfly effect, isn't it? You could have kick-started a whole chain of events.
I know. It could have been catastrophous.
Indeed.
Nathan, was this right around the time that Jerry from the sewing store was your roommate?
Oh God, yeah. You knew what I was doing with my "Can I borrow a feeling?" didn't you?
Yes.
It's Simpsons, Justin.
Oh, but of course. Well, I know there is a Simpsons reference in Slumber Party Massacre 3, isn't there? Or a connection, I should say.
Is there?
Yes.
I didn't spot it, but...
Well,
I mean,
the girl that does Lisa Simpson, plays Maria.
Doesn't. That's
no,
Shirley
that's
Smith.
not.
She's
That's
in
not
Maximum
true.
Overdrive.
And Deadly
she's
Games
also
as well. Was she in Deadly Games, wasn't she? Or no, Deadly Lessons. So she did do a slasher movie. But, no, well, I shall reveal all. But yeah, there is a definite Simpsons connection to Slumber Party Massacre 3, or one of the people in it. But we'll come on to that a little bit later. But before we do, let's have a little chat about what we've been watching. So, Erik, have you seen anything of note?
Okay, well, I watched. We've recently got the Horror Channel, which is a UK TV channel that has not been available on Virgin Media in Ireland until this last week. So I've been watching some of the films on that. Now, it's called the Horror Channel, but chances are, if you flick it on during the day, you're going to see Star Trek: The Next Generation, which is not horror as far as I know. But they do show some decent movies late at night. So I was watching Cujo again. Haven't seen it in a long time. I do like this movie, but it has that same old problem with killer dog movies in that I don't find dogs in any way scary. Even the nasty, vicious ones like Dobermans, I still I'm not scared of them. Not because I'm big and I am big and tough. That's true, but I'm just happen to like dogs. And in Cujo, it's a big cuddly Saint Bernard, and I'm like, oh, I don't care if he has rabies. I want to give him snuggles. There's a kid in it who's kind of annoying. He's the kid who went on to be in Who's the Boss. But Dee Wallace is great in it, and I mean, it is effective. Had it been, I was watching Kingdom of the Spiders also this week, which doesn't have the narrative strengths of Cujo, but it has far more effective scares because I hate spiders. They're so icky. They're so disgusting. They need to all be squished ASAP. I don't know how you can live in America with all those tarantulas crawling around all the time. I really feel sorry for you, Nathan and Joseph, because it must be horrible. Do you have tarantulas like under your pillow when you go to bed at night and stuff?
Well, we don't really have tarantulas in our part of the country.
Excuse me, I've watched a lot of television growing up. I know that you have tarantulas all over America and rattlesnakes. Don't try and
I pick spiders up and I take them outside because Wes wants to squish them, but I don't.
Oh, well done for you, Nathan.
Well, I mean, there are.
Justin. I always pick them up and carry them out.
Yeah, I'm terrified of spiders, but I'll still try to get a glass jar to scooch them out of the house.
I don't mind.
Eric.
Yeah.
Eric, tarantulas are kind of prevalent in America, but not in Tennessee. It's mostly black widows around here.
Okay. Well, they have icky spiders. And I don't mind Irish spiders. I'll happily trap them in the glass and put them outside. But if I saw a tarantula, it's on its way to Squishville. I'm sorry. Sorry, Justin. I know that.
But tarantulas are actually pretty harmless. They won't really attack a human.
Looking in there, it's creepy and yucky.
They're not. They're lovely and furry. You can give them a little stroke.
Yes, you can pet them.
Well, if you were in Kingdom of the Spiders and you're being covered in tarantulas, then I hope you have a wonderful time.
I'd be more worried about William Shatner than the spiders, to be honest.
So yeah, Cujo, great to watch that again. Had it been something more monstrous than the dog, it probably would have had more effectiveness as a horror film for me. But the other one I watched this week was Wrong Turn 5, again on the Horror Channel. And this was very ho-hum, I'm afraid. But having said that, it delivered exactly what I was anticipating. Whatever the equivalent of straight to video is nowadays, straight to Netflix probably is the equivalent. Doug Bradley is in it in a role where he doesn't have to wear any latex appliances all over his face, but he is sporting a very dodgy American accent. He's the leader of the clan of mutant hillbillies, and he's arrested and he's held in this prison cell in a small town sheriff's office. And then the sheriff's office comes under siege from the mutant hillbillies. And so it becomes slightly like, I suppose they're trying for Assault on Precinct 13 style horror. So whilst it's gory in places, it's filled with moments of people making absolutely stupid decisions and playing right into the hands of the villains. And spoiler alert, I think everyone dies in it. I maybe need to rewatch it. Pretty sure
everyone except, one kind of lives, but you're led to believe that she'll end up dying anyway.
Okay,
it's the one they messed with her eyes somehow. Yeah. They cut her eyes out or something.
All right, yeah.
What movie was this? I didn't hear it.
Wrong Turn 5.
Oh, yeah.
So I have wrong. They also showed Wrong Turn 6 last night, so I have that taped ready to watch. And The Guardian, the William Friedkin movie, which I haven't seen since it came out in 1990. I remember it being utterly trashy. So I'm looking forward to that. But that's all I've seen.
Okay. I didn't like Wrong Turn 5 that much. It was probably my least favorite Wrong Turn, to be honest. Like, I loved part 1. I thought part 2 was all right. It was definitely entertaining to me. 3 was okay. 4 was pretty good, except the unbelievably stupid decision the characters make. But 5, I don't know. I think one problem I had in part 5 is that I actually found the villains really annoying and obnoxious rather than scary in any way.
They are.
So
Doug Bradley is taunting the heroes in it all the way through, like some kind of unstoppable bully, Justin. So yeah, it does get great on the nerves a bit.
So I kept wanting him to die, even though I like Doug Bradley as an actor, but that character is just so annoying. So, I'm like, don't make your villains annoying.
Yes, make them scary.
Yes.
Like, I don't get annoyed with Jason. I'm like, Jason, don't do that, but I'm not like really annoyed with him.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to get annoyed with Jason when he don't talk, though.
Yeah, true.
Erik, I can't believe you say I'm a bully. That's total pot calling kettle black.
Whatevs, girl.
Well, thank you for that, Erik. How about you, Nathan?
I caught up with The Void that came out like 2 or 3 years ago. It's the movie where like there's a monster unleashed in this hospital, but the hospital is also surrounded by a crazy cult. So the people are trapped with this monster and getting killed off one by ones. And, I really liked it, but I felt like by the time we get to the big finale, it just was insane. Like it just went completely off the rails. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. But I don't know. I would have preferred just a standard traditional monster movie, I guess.
I'm being bullied online.
I know, I just saw that.
As we record. I'm going to call you a whore. There you go, you're a whore.
Erik, what do you mean?
You sent me a horrible picture and made a horrible comment about Toya.
I hate you!
There you go.
So, okay. Sorry, Nathan. Carry on.
Well, I don't know. Did y'all even hear anything I said?
Yeah.
You bully.
But, oh, come on. That's very unfair.
When have we been known to be fair on this podcast?
Exactly. Erik, what are your views on what Nathan just said?
Yeah, I agree.
You agree? Okay. That's good.
What part specifically do you agree with?
Yeah, Erik.
The bit about the stuff?
Mm-hmm.
I found the stuff like that way as well. That was the way I understood the stuff. Yeah. And the things.
Do you want to elaborate a little?
Yeah.
No, I haven't seen The Void, so I can't comment on it. See, I was listening.
Okay.
I know that Joseph has seen it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. What are your thoughts on The Void, Joseph?
The Void I thought was very visually kind of arresting, but it just seemed like a very bad... the first half is pretty good, but it just seemed like a very bad kind of Prince of Darkness ripoff, almost. I don't know, it just wasn't very fun after the first half. I don't know, the plot got too far out there and it got too convoluted to be kind of enjoyable. So, I like the visuals, but
Okay, all right.
Arresting,
yes.
What does that mean?
It means it's entertaining, captivating.
Oh, okay.
Have you seen any other arresting movies, Nathan?
Yes, I watched a fantastic film that I sent you guys clips of called Winter Beast.
Yes.
That looked terrifying.
Yes.
It was actually, when I was looking up the title of that film is how I accidentally ended up calling you all on Messenger.
It led to that special conversation that we had.
Yes.
But it's about a winter town, and a bunch of totem poles get possessed and start killing people in gory ways. Like in one scene, a guy is scaling like down a mountainside, and I'm trying to explain it, but you know how you're hanging from a rope and you're like going down the mountain?
Abseiling.
Okay, abstinent.
Abseiling.
Abseiling.
Ascending the cliff.
Ascending the cliff. And one of the totem poles like pulls him back up and then grabs him and just tears his head off.
Or is it descending? I don't know. It's too early.
To ascend, you'd be going up, wouldn't you? So descend. Yeah. It's like Erik going down.
Yeah, that's right.
And there's a horrifying sequence where a topless woman gets grabbed from inside her house, and the totem pole throws her against the side of the house and kills her.
I saw that. I thought it was even more impressive that something made out of plasticine could be so violent.
I can't believe I've never seen this film. I saw the clips. They're very Ray Harryhausen-esque, like with the stop motion miniatures. Mm-hmm. It looks very funny. I need to catch up with this movie.
Yeah, I think that y'all would probably at least find it funny because it's pretty ridiculous.
Well, that is definitely one on the watch list, and I imagine that it may end up being a Patreon pick for you, Nathan, at some point.
Of course. I mean, it's like a lost horror movie.
Apologies, you can hear banging in the background. It's just some cats playing in a cupboard.
I didn't hear anything.
They locked in the cupboard?
No, the cupboard is open, but Martino is there with one of the visiting cats, the Lion King. And they're knocking things around in there. So
does Martina get along with all the cats?
Pretty much, apart from Zippo, the big fat cat who was here before all the rest of the cats, who's a bit of a biffer.
Does that cat have a beard?
What, Zippo?
Yeah.
Well, no,
Where are you going with this conversation?
You said it's a big fat cat and it's a bully, so I was wondering.
Oh.
Hang on a second.
Justin, did you say biffer? Because I'm looking this up and it says...
I think Erik is about to send me a message or something on Facebook.
Sorry, Nathan, you were saying you're looking it up.
No, I looked it up and it says the term used to describe a female of ill repute whose physical appearance leaves a lot to be desired. How does that translate to a cat?
Well, she's a larger cat, and she's always scowling, and she's quite bad-tempered. So obviously,
are you trying to say large women can't be attractive, Justin?
No, I'm not saying that at all. No, I never said that. I never said that.
You did say that. I heard. Shut up. I heard.
I never said that. I never said large women couldn't be attractive. And there are a lot of attractive large women out there.
To all of our millennial listeners out there, sorry if you're triggered.
No, I never said that. I just said like a biffer is kind of like it's a kind of a bruiser. You know, it's a bit of an. You know, she's always causing fights with other cats. She said, "Are there cats here that he doesn't get on with?" And I said, "Yes, it's her because she's obsessed about biscuits." And I'm not saying that all fat people are obsessed about food, but this cat is obsessed about biscuits. So there you go.
Biscuits and gravy.
Just biscuits. So anyway, enough of that because this is turning into the version of the other episode, Short People conversation. So
you're going to be on the front of all the tabloids tomorrow, Justin.
Oh dear. I'm not sure that one's been out yet. But anyway, Nathan, is anything else?
No, just those two this week.
Great. Okay. Well, thank you, Joseph. How about you?
Yeah, I was watching some of these movie mashups by a French filmmaker named Antonio Maria da Silva on YouTube. And I had seen he'd made this mashup called Hell's Club. I'd seen it a while back, but I'm a little late to the party on some of these other ones he had done. Basically, he takes clips from from pre-existing movies and he puts them all together and he creates these narratives. He color grades each scene so they all match and puts new music over it, et cetera, et cetera. Hell's Club is really, really awesome. It's basically just every dance and nightclub scene you can think of from a movie, and he's intertwined them to where there's this basically every character you can think of from just about any popular movie from the 70s till now just meet up in this nightclub, and basically the Terminator comes in and just creates a shootout, and it's really well done. And I'm bringing this up because he's done a couple that I think if you haven't seen them, I think you really should. One is called The Overlook. It's a sequel to The Shining. And what he's done here is he's taken some of the footage from The Shining and from different horror films, and he's made like a sequel to The Shining. And it's he's even got a guy narrating it who sounds just like Jack Nicholson. Basically, Jack Nicholson's character is still in the Overlook Hotel, and he's going from like room to room, and he's happening upon different scenarios from different films. And the way he's weaved all this together and created this actual storyline is just so very cool. And I'm just sitting here thinking, how in the world did he do that? Just one guy did all this, and it's just really neat. I highly recommend you look that up. The other one I wanted to mention was called Rise of the Boogeyman. He's done the same thing, but with a slasher and horror movie villains. It's basically just this, Jason, Freddy, Chucky, Pinhead, Leatherface, just battling it out. And like I said, the way he's weaved these together, it really looks like they're all, fighting one another. Even Ash from the Evil Dead series shows up. It's just incredible. I was like, wow. I spent like hours watching all these little short films. They're just amazing. Look him up on YouTube. It's Antonio Maria da Silva. I would start with Hell's Club, because Hell's Club is where I got my start, and I think it's one of his first films. And he gets better as he keeps doing all these. But the Rise of the Boogeyman and the Overlook are, if you're a slasher or a horror movie fan, you really need to see these, because they're quite amazing, actually.
I watched the Rise of the Boogeyman this morning after you sent the link, and I thought, I agree, it's incredibly well done, isn't it? Even just down to the color, the color matching, the light matching he does from different clips. It kind of it works really well. Yeah,
I was very impressed with that.
Particularly the fight sequences where he makes it look like Jason and Michael Myers are having a fight. Just the way it's it's edited like a professional movie, so it feels. And I also like the fact that he uses like special effects as well to make it look like the Psycho house is right next door to the Exorcist house, is it? And stuff like that. So he's compositing shots together as well as just using images from directly from movies.
I love the where Jason and Michael basically go into the bathroom in Psycho and they kill Janet Leigh in the shower. It really looks like they're killing Janet Leigh in the shower. I'm like, wow, how did he do this?
Yeah,
it's just amazing.
When they walk into the room, everything turns black and white as well. So it's really clever.
Yeah, definitely worth checking out. So fantastic. Nathan, did you get a chance to see it?
No, I haven't.
Well, just wait until the smoke clears and then have a look.
Smoke? What?
Anything else, Joseph?
Cheech.
No, that's it for this week.
Okay, right. Well, just a couple. When I did get the video call from Erik, I was in the middle of watching For My Sins, the Tom Cruise remake of The Mummy from a couple of years ago. That was on TV here, so I hadn't seen it. I thought I'd give it a go. I knew it was kind of more of a kind of action movie, really, than a horror movie, and it was exactly that. I think ever since probably the original, well, not the original Mummy, but the Brendan Fraser Mummy movies, which are much more entertaining. Well, there's certainly the first one, but everything from that to Van Helsing and all the way through Underworld, it's just been this endless kind of like monster mashup, high energy, high octane action movies, which they're fine in their own kind of way, and I enjoy them. But it's a shame that Universal can't seem to make a kind of quiet horror movie like they used to, like the original Mummy or Dracula or something. Although obviously it looked very creaky today, but it's very, very kind of one note, and it was like a fast, like a fast food. Really, it was kind of, once I'd watched it, it was gone. It was perfectly serviceable way to pass an hour and 40 minutes, but. No wonder the Dark Universe hasn't really taken off so far. I think they kind of need to rethink all of that. But you guys,
what was the first film? Yeah, what was the first film in the Dark Universe? Was this the first? Was one? I can't.
Don't know. They were going to. I think what they wanted to do was do it like a Marvel universe, wasn't it? Yeah. So it'd all be.
Dr. Jekyll and stuff in the Mummy, don't they? I mean, as you said, I saw it maybe 6 months ago, and I can't really remember too much about it.
I think they obviously wanted to ape the success of all the Avengers and all those kind of, but then to be honest, I'd like just we've talked about all, it's just like a big yawn, really. It's just they leave me cold, those films. I know they're incredibly popular. So it's just a shame that Universal can't make a kind of quiet, thoughtful horror movie anymore, and just has to sort of like try and ape the Marvel and all those other, DC universe and all that kind of crap. But that was that. The other one I saw, and it was a bit of a ho hum again, was I saw The Veil from a couple of years ago. Sorry?
When you put it on your head when you went down to the grave.
That's right, yes. No, this was another one of those Blumhouse productions from 2016. And it had Jessica Alba in it, who was been in a few. She was in the remake of The Eye, wasn't she, a while ago? And this was. It seems like Blumhouse have got a real hit or miss kind of track record, haven't they? I'm surprised. They seem to, for every Get Out or Happy Death Day, there seems to be quite a few real ho-hum, what would have been straight-to-video movies back in the 90s kind of thing. And this is kind of one of those. Unfortunately, I mean, it looks okay, but it's very flat. It's has anyone seen it?
No.
It's kind of...
No, I've never seen it.
No, but it's that kind of well-worn thing of... it reminded me of that... what's that film? Not The After. What was the one we talked about? The guys going back to the cult.
What's it called?
The Endless.
The Endless. Yes. Well, it's kind of similar in this way that there's a young girl who was 5 years old after a death cult that she was part of. They all killed themselves, and she was the only survivor. So she goes back 25 years later with Jessica Alba and her brother and a group of friends to make a documentary at the site of the mass suicide. And it's got Thomas Jane, who's always very watchable, and he's pretty good in this. He's quite hammy, but he's kind of plays a kind of Jim Jones kind of character. And there's a good twist halfway through, but it's just kind of one of those films you're just watching, and it kind of washes over you. It's not, it's got a few jump scares in here and there, but it's very ho-hum. So not one that I would necessarily recommend unless it's like a wet Sunday afternoon and you've got nothing better to watch. But
it's spooky that you said it was ho-hum, because I was just looking up the director.
Yeah.
He directed Rattle and Hum, the U2 concert movie.
Oh, did
that
he?
I've never seen, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it was all right, but it was it's nothing special. It just feels like, those kind of films it feels like it's made by committee rather than anyone taking any risks with anything. So
the Mummy is like that as well. Then,
yeah, exactly. It's a shame, really. But one going back to classic horror slasher movies briefly, just before we get on to the main feature, I just wanted to mention I've just been doing. I think by the time this comes out, it would have been Hysteria Live's 20th birthday. And I've been working on a new review. But one thing I'm working on, and it will probably be out by the time this goes out, is I saw a film in Variety. There was Canon Pictures were doing a big promo of their upcoming films. This is back in 1980. An old copy of Variety I saw a long time ago, and there was a film in it called Lover's Lane, which was due to be shot in the tail end of 1980 for a spring release in 1981, and it was going to star somebody called Wayne Newton, who I didn't know who that was, but apparently he's Mr. Las Vegas. He's kind of like a Liberace style person. And
was it Since to Kill, I think, the Bond movie, was he?
He was in. Yes, he was. He did go on to be in that. And so he was going to star in this film. It was Lover's Lane, and it's got this. The image was somebody in the fedora, in silhouette, holding a knife, like looming over a car in Lover's Lane. So Wayne Newton was going to play a psychotic killer, and this is the same time that Cannon was pushing out New Year's Evil, Schizoid, and X-Ray. As their slasher movie. So this is going to be their next big slasher movie of early or spring 1981. And of course, it never appeared. And I always wondered what had actually happened to it, if it ever got shot, because we talked about in the past about films, films sitting on the shelf. And I thought it would be possible that there was a Canon production that was made and was never released. So I've done some detective work, and I have found out what the answer to the mystery is, but you'll have to read the article when it comes out. But it was really interesting what actually happened to it, and bizarrely, I don't know if you ever do those kind of investigations or looking for stuff, and I went down this rabbit hole, and I ended up finding this story, this mention of the film, and alongside it was detailing how Faye Dunaway was haunted by the ghost of Joan Crawford on the set of Mommy Dearest, supposedly. So anyway, that will all be coming out soon. So just to find out whether or not Lover's Lane from 1981 was ever made and what actually happened to it. So there's a little teaser.
Ooh,
so
consider teased.
So teased, yes. So just like Toya's hair.
That was actually not an
Susie's hair.
insult. Wow.
I know, or Susie's hair, or my hair back in the 80s.
Yeah.
And probably your hair back in the 80s as well, Erik.
Yeah, I had a mullet. I don't know if I teased it as such. I was teased for it, I suppose.
Well, I'm not surprised. You had a mullet.
I had a mullet, yeah.
Oh, Erik. I think I might have had a mullet back in the day, actually. Only a very short one. But anyway, fascinating hairstyles of the Hysteria continues. So, shall we, let's go to Venice Beach, shall we? For a little bit of driller thriller.
7 California co-eds are dressed to kill, and a murderer is, well, dressed to kill. Dressed to kill? That should be dressed to drill. Come on. He's an insomnomaniac looking for luscious bods to bore, and it looks like he'll find them at the Slumber Party Massacre. The driller killer is back in part 3 of the classic horror fest. This time, Jackie, Diane, and Martia are 3 high school girls who love a good time. When they party, they bust out of their bikinis and break out the brews, but the driller killer's out for a thrill with his drill, and he's ready to kill. You know, sometimes I wonder if the people that write these descriptions on the back of the boxes for these movies actually watch the movie. Because, number one, there's nobody named Martia in this movie.
I was going to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it also says 7 California co-eds are dressed to kill. And I'm like, there's more than 7, I'm pretty sure. So I don't know. I think that's a mistake, but that's okay. That's, it's just the description. This is, part 3 of the classic Slumber Party Massacre series, which is the greatest horror series of all time. It is a lot of fun. But one thing about this one is, as much as I love it, it's also very dark because, you find out that the killer, the reason he's doing this is because of, he was molested by his uncle. And I don't know. There's also that scene where, he's like molesting one of the girls, Maria. And I don't know, it's kind of hard to watch. Probably because I think she plays that scene very well. She looked legitimately terrified of this guy. So I was like, this movie took it to a much darker place than the previous 2, especially part 2. And I did kind of like that they tried to do kind of a whodunit aspect this time around. The first half is kind of a whodunit. You don't know who the killer is. One of the suspects wears all black. Kind of reminds me of somebody on this podcast.
That's you, Justin.
Well, I'm wearing neon yellow lycra at the moment because I've just been for a run. What?
Lycra.
Well, have I got not completely in headstone lycra? I've got lycra shorts on and orange top.
Ooh, so tight. Ooh.
It's kind of like spandex, Nathan, in case you were wondering.
Oh, no. I was just saying that doesn't seem like something Justin would wear.
I know, it's weird.
Well, I'm not going to be running. I'm not going to go for a 5K run in a shroud, am I?
Yeah, but what do you listen to on your jog?
Sorry?
What do you listen to on your run? Do you listen to completely non-goth music?
No, but we run together, so we don't. I don't listen to music.
Oh,
sorry. Anyway, Nathan, we're coming right off.
Just in yellow lycra. Whoever would have thought? Those days when you're taking pictures, flicking your hair in a graveyard, and here you are wearing tight yellow lycra.
I know. A mammal.
What would your past goth self say about that?
I'm not sure. But I'm trying not to be to live up to that mammal stereotype.
Middle-aged man in lycra.
Yeah.
It'd probably say something like, "Stop all the running and sit down and have a cigarette, please."
Darling.
Yeah. Well, I don't smoke anymore, unlike some other people on the podcast. We won't mention.
Smoke cigarettes.
Anyway, Nathan, come on.
Yes, I will continue now. And I felt kind of bad for the character of Duncan because, he just didn't know what hit him. You know what I mean? Like, he goes to open the door thinking everything's fine, and then the next thing you know, he's like sliced up. It kind of reminded me of Jackie from part 1. You know,
And he
she
had
opened
family
the door.
too.
Yeah. That, you know, that's a terrifying thing. I think this movie has some interesting murder weapons besides the drill. You know, like there's the for sale sign. There's like a plug-in vibrator that's used as a murder weapon. Although I mean, would vibrators be like plugged into the wall?
I have this issue as well. I was like, you'd need an extension cable, surely.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That just seemed very odd to me. But I love the car scene where the girl who played volleyball is in the car. And I'm distracted because Justin just randomly sent pictures of his legs to us.
I'd say
on
green,
Facebook.
green rather than yellow.
Yeah, I'd say green. It's like a lime green.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Justin.
That's okay.
Yeah, thanks. And like the other Slumber Party Massacre movies, well, you know, like the first one, this one doesn't go for just one final girl. You have more than one, and I think that's kind of fun. I love when the killer traps them all in the house and just starts going nuts, killing them all like very quickly, one by one, in that kind of fashion. I thought that was a lot of fun. And I think that the one girl, Janine, I like that she decides to just jump through the glass window. I also love that none of these girls thought to maybe grab a chair and throw it through, you know, the glass door to get away. Instead, like, it's like 4 or 5 of them like just keep trying to pull on the door, which I thought was really funny. But the scene I was mentioning earlier with Maria, one thing that used to really bother me about that scene is that her friends just kind of stand around while he's like, you know, molesting her and ripping her clothes off and stuff. And I often wondered, I'm like, this is a movie where they break lamps and stuff over his head like every 5 minutes. Like, why didn't they break another lamp on his head? But you find out later that was an added scene later, after the fact, that actually he killed her pretty much immediately, and none of that, you know, molestation stuff actually happened originally. So that would make sense as to why they didn't help her. So I was like, okay, well, I kind of can get that. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a fun movie, regardless of the dark side of it. So, you know, I mean, I can't choose my favorite of the Slumber Party Massacre movies. I think they're all equally amazing. So, I mean, they're just incredible films. What do you think, Justin?
Well, I like this movie. I think it's pretty well done. It's pretty well made. It kind of zips along at a kind of a good pace. I kind of appreciate in some ways that the 3 films are so different, considering they all have the kind of basic premise, which is, you know, kind of girls with big hair get together, strip, and then get bumped off one by one after their boyfriends turn up by somebody with a drill. But they are very, very different, all of them tonally. I mean, the first half of the movie is relatively light-hearted, isn't it? I'm kind of basically got mixed feelings about the whole thing with the killer's motivation in this, because it doesn't actually make any sense. I mean, he was molested by his uncle, but why he then goes on to be killing nubile young women and their boyfriends, it doesn't really make any sense. And so it's kind of, in some ways, it's quite a kind of bad taste motivation, and you know, given how cartoonish the film is, it doesn't really sit comfortably. But having said that, it kind of, at least it makes it a bit different. It felt very much, it's got that, obviously, made in the kind of tail end of 89 and sort of the early part of 1990. It's got that very much that transitional feel from the late 80s into the kind of 90s, kind of early 90s slashers, where you've got these kind of random kind of characters, and it feels kind of flat-ish in so much it's, you know, if you look at something like it makes the 1982's Slumber Party Massacre look like Lawrence of Arabia in comparison. It's not they're saying it's badly shot. It's not badly made at all, but it looks very flat, like a lot of those kind of early 90s slash movies. Although I presume it was shot on film. I don't know. I thought it was a lot of fun. I like the characters. They're fairly interchangeable, but they're fun characters. And I don't know why more slashers don't start with people on the beach playing volleyball. It's kind of strange because it feels like it starts of one film and ends as another. I've never really seen a convincing reason why that was the case. Why it was written in that the killer's motivation would have been that. Even when I listened to the commentary that was done with some of the cast and the director, Sally Mattison, I don't think it's ever really cleared up why they decided to go that route. Apart from that, it's got the classic slasher premise. It did make me laugh when they could have thrown something through a window. I know one of the girls does jump through a kind of a kitchen door at one point to escape and then kills herself. But why they didn't go and smash some windows, and also, the thing is, it's not really, Having said that, you've got the scene with Marta Kober as the pizza delivery girl, who is chased by the killer and drilled to death in a suburban street, in the middle of a suburban street, and nobody bats an eyelid. In fact, it doesn't feel like there's anyone else in this movie alive in Los Angeles apart from the people in the house, the killer, pizza delivery girl, and a couple of cops sat in a cop shop somewhere who ignore their calls for help. So it's certainly obviously not meaning to, not trying to be believable, but it's a fun film. It just kind of it just makes it's kind of strange, that uncomfortable twist. Just makes it feel. It gives you a bit of a weird kind of, I don't know, icky, but just kind of like, I'm not quite sure what we're supposed to be thinking at the moment. It's kind of, it's just this idea of having a very cheesy fun film and throwing in a very disturbing element. And also when the like you say, whose idea it was, I believe it was Roger Corman's, I might be wrong, but to throw in that scene, Maria essentially being, kind of molested and sort of groped, and it just seems odd, but I don't dislike it. I think it's a well-made film. It's a fun film, and I appreciate it's different from the other two.
Awesome. I think that his uncle's suicide is what set him off.
Yeah, I kind of guess that's what we're meant to think, isn't it?
And I think that he had a love-hate relationship with his uncle. And then, of course, when the women, get too close to his groin, it goes completely crazy then, which I was like, I think he's continuing the cycle of abuse.
But then he killed, didn't he? Is that the girl in the car right at the beginning of the film?
Yeah, but I think that was more of the women confuse him, like, on a sexual level.
Why does he kill the blokes then?
They're in the way.
Okay, fair enough.
What about you, Eric?
I kind of like this. I was reading Justin's review on Hysteria Lives, and I think he sums it up well, that it's much better than you'd expect from a slasher film made in 1990 and a sort of late in the day sequel. I enjoy 1 and 2 to a certain degree, and I'm glad that they didn't try and push the humor even further in part 3, because it was getting to absurd levels at stages in part 2, although it was an enjoyable movie, and it had Heidi Kozak in it, who's one of the best things of the 1980s in general. Justin was saying that it has a different feel to the other two, which it does, but I also like that sense of continuity it has. It feels like a Slumber Party Massacre movie. if you think about all the Hellraiser sequels that have come out since Part 3, where it's been different individual movies that actually started as different scripts and had Pinhead shoehorned into them to make them Hellraiser sequels, this feels like it was a Slumber Party Massacre movie from the very start. Now, I don't know, you might have some background that might dispute that fact, but it does. I mean, it has the classic formula from the first two movies, and it just reiterates it again, except maybe with that darker tone. One possible issue with the movie, I mean, in this one in particular, there's a real abundance of characters, a lot to fit into that small running time. So, I mean, there are characters in there. I'm looking at the cast list on IMDb, and I'm like, okay, which one's Susie and which one's Diane? I couldn't really remember. The one I do remember, though, is Maria, because I love her and her huge hair. And she looks really like Frankenhooker, I think. Did anyone else think that? No. Okay. I thought she looked exactly like Frankenhooker. And there's a weird scene where she goes out into the patio where the barbecue is, and she's chatting to Jackie, and her voice seems completely different, and she sounds like a 13-year-old Valley girl all of a sudden. And Nathan, did you notice that?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's where she's like, "Oh, I love older men," and she's like, "Well, how old is this guy?" And she's like, "Oh, 50."
Yeah, Justin. I also like the fact that in that scene, in all the scenes inside, once they have the party, they're carrying around generic white cans with the word beer written on them. Talk about bland marketing. And as you said, like when Maria is being killed, I actually felt really bad for her, just because of the fact that first she's suffering this horrible almost rape, I suppose. But the fact that all our friends are standing around, not helping at all. I mean, it cuts away to them, and they're sort of watching this unfold, like from the hallway. It's like, why don't you help her? There was so much time to help her. But as Nathan said, it was a scene that was put in after the fact, a couple of months later. So that's probably why they couldn't work it that way. The killer's identity, I guessed. I mean, did anyone else think it was pretty obvious who it was from the get-go?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like the pretty boy outsider who isn't a core member of the group. He's sort of the obvious person to have as the killer, which is a spoiler alert, I suppose. But his identity is revealed maybe around the 50-minute mark or so. And, I go on about this all the time, but I still would prefer if these films had sort of a mass killer who's unveiled in the last 5 minutes to give them a bit more mystery. And I don't know, I'm just, because my slasher beginnings are in Halloween and Friday the 13th, that's the kind of formula and setup I like. I don't like it when it's just a pretty boy with highlights in his hair running around killing people. It's less interesting for me. I thought he was a big improvement on the 50s rocker from Part 2, though. I'll say that. Yeah, again, some interesting deaths in there. The for sale sign, the plug-in vibrator, which I still don't understand the logic behind. So you'd have to sort of sit yourself beside the socket to get any enjoyment out of it. Unless you just charge it up when you plug it in, maybe, Nathan.
That could be it.
Yeah. I like the homage to Halloween as well, where Ken is trying to break into the wardrobe, or closet, I think you call them in the States, and he's breaking all the slats, with whichever teenager whose name I can't remember is sort of trapped inside. Overall, though, I did enjoy it, but the fact that it sort of devolves into, scantily clad women running around a house and not, as you said, not, getting the idea into their head to actually break a window and escape. It becomes a bit maybe repetitive in the last 20 minutes or so. I do think it was a very enjoyable movie, but I don't think it's one I'd ever be compelled to sort of revisit, or certainly not on with the regularity I'd go back to the Friday the 13th movies or Halloween, the first few Halloweens. But no, I did enjoy it, which I think you'll be surprised to hear, Nathan.
I am, actually. Joseph?
Yeah, I kind of liked it as well. I like that this film tries to incorporate a whodunit into the narrative, though they revealed the killer way too early, and by which point I imagine any seasoned slasher fan will have sussed out the identity of the killer anyway. But I enjoy the film for trying something a little different, as well as trying to give the killer a real motive. But it's sort of a double-edged sword. I mean, it loses some of the steam it manages to build by introducing this rather unfortunate plot angle with the killer's motive. I thought the first two films were kind of campy and even otherworldly and surreal at times, especially part two. This entry goes for more of a straightforward plot about basically a kid who was molested, and thus, his psychosis is triggered. And frankly, it's a little uncomfortable of an angle to introduce in a slasher film about, busty women at a slumber party. At least for me. I don't know. I just prefer the kind of cheery, the sort of rah, run, scream popcorn thrills of the first two films. And Slumber Party Massacre 3 just kind of goes too far into that To Catch a Predator territory to have any real lasting interest for me. I liked it, for what it tries to do, but at the same time, I'd prefer not to watch it again and just stick with the first two films, especially the second. So a marginal thumbs up, as something, competently made that finishes out the trilogy. But for me, it is the weakest of the three.
All right. Justin, in your review, you call the killer floppy-haired.
That is fair. He is floppy-haired.
Yeah. Well, it was at least.
I just think that's funny, floppy-haired.
At least he didn't have a bowl cut like the blonde kid who looked like H from Steps.
The blonde kid, that's the one that I felt kind of bad for.
Duncan,
yeah.
Yeah, because I remember him, he was, because I was a big fan of Fame in the 80s, he was recognizable to me instantly as Dwight, the dorky hall monitor from Fame, who everyone used to bully. I used to sympathize with him.
So you felt bad for him too when he got slashed up with a drill.
In Slumber Party Massacre 3, I didn't really feel sorry for him.
Well, in the commentary, they sort of say that he was going into this, he was the most famous cast member.
Yeah, because I think he was on Beauty and the Beast, the TV series, with Linda Hamilton as well.
But those
so he was famous for that, maybe.
That early 90s hairstyles weren't very forgiving, were they?
No. They all look like Jason Donovan's, which is probably a reference that Nathan Joseph mightn't get.
No. But well, that was I do appreciate that kind of that thing. Unlike many of the slasher movie kind of tropes and like the Friday the 13th and Halloweens, where you whittle down the cast until you get down to the killer and the final girl or final boy and the burning, that type of thing, where you always have in these movies where you have like pandemonium of lots of people running around and the killer reveals themselves like halfway through or 2/3 of the way into the movie. I also I thought it was quite funny, I can't remember his character name, but the one who goes off with the killer when they don't know it's the killer to go and get help, and again they don't actually see anyone even though they're running through the streets, and they end up in some kind of warehouse, and then killer chainsaws off his feet, this kid's feet, and then you see him dead by the window back at the house, which either means he either crawled all the way back to the house or the killer took him back. So this person whose feet had been chainsawed off had crawled back to the house, died outside the house without actually raising the alarm, which was quite some feat,
what I thought
as it were.
I thought it was funny that, when they're fighting, like the good guy grabs the chainsaw and like tries 3 or 4 times to crank it and can't at all. But the minute the killer picks it up, he cranks it immediately. It's like one of those things where fate always seems to go the killer's way until the very end of the movie.
Well,
and also,
yeah.
I'm guessing maybe it's his floppy hair, but did you guys notice how many times he got hit over the head with something and it never seemed to knock him out? It just dazed him slightly.
Can floppy hair protect you from hits on the head?
Apparently. I mean, he got hit with like 2 lamps, a glass dish, that polo mallet. I mean, he took a lot of hits to the head.
Maybe I should grow my hair back to my 1989 style then.
Because you had hair like a curtain, didn't you?
I had hair like a curtain. That was more 1992. Yeah. Yeah. I did actually have hair very like Ken. I was trying to look like, indie pop star, but yeah, I was looking like a spa.
Well, I think they were going obviously with the name Ken. They were kind of going for that Ken doll look, weren't they, to make him like be the archetypical hunky kind of guy.
Is he a guy to anyone on this podcast?
What?
Is he a hunk? Ken?
Well, he was kind of he's just like a bland jock, wasn't he, really, in all essence, sort of otherwise. I mean, none of the male characters in this, apart from obviously the creepy guy on the beach who returns the diary or whatever it is that gets dropped to the beach and then gets killed for his things, and then the creepy neighbour, who are all like all kind of. I mean, if you've seen obviously Sorority House Massacre or any of the films, or Hard to Die or whatever, is it Orville Ketchum, isn't it? In those, who plays the very obvious red herring through most of those movies. Then you've got, the character is a very obvious red herring. So again, if you're seasoned, if you've seen more than one slasher movie around this time, you know that somebody who's the two characters are bug-eyed and are very unlikely to be the killers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with them.
Okay. Well, how about some background? Nathan, do you want to give us your background? Yes,
I will. The opening scenes on the beach were shot on a freezing cold day in January. Hope Marie Carlton did her own stunt, which she crashes through a glass door. That's cool. Ooh, Maria Ford wore a wig in this movie.
That's the actress, Maria, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is unnaturally big.
Unnaturally. Let's see, the interior of the house was also the same set that was used in Sorority House Massacre Part 2. The trailer reuses footage from Sorority House Massacre. Diane, she dies at the very end of the movie. She gets stabbed by Ken. Originally, they had shot the scene where she lived, and they also shot one where she died, and the actress didn't know which one they were going to go with, so she ended up, dying. So I guess it was to make it even more dark of a finale. Maria Claire, who played Susie, was also with Heidi Kozak from Slumber Party Massacre 2 in the monster movie Society in 1989. I like that movie, by the way. It's good. I don't know if this is, like an in-joke or not, because this movie's not really big on in-jokes, like you guys have said, but when you see the newspaper clipping of the uncle that committed suicide, one of the headlines on it is "Oil drilling begins next week." Drilling.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah. But yeah, that is the trivia that I have, which, is pretty good trivia.
Yeah, not bad. Not bad.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you to all those people who contributed to Wikipedia.
I'm not looking at Wikipedia.
I'm only joking, Nathan. Okay, well, Joseph, how about you?
Yeah, apparently the budget, I don't know how true this is, the budget was $350,000. Opening weekend, it brought in $270,000. I didn't know if this got a theatrical release, but apparently it did on September 9th of 1990. It was limited. The apparent gross overall was $1.2 million. I don't know how true that is either. As Nathan said, the opening beach scenes were shot on location at Venice Beach, but the interiors were filmed at Roger Corman's studio in Venice, Los Angeles, California. The Slumber Party Massacre trilogy is actually the only slasher franchise to have not only all female directors, but all female writers as well. And it is, if I'm correct, it may be the only trilogy that has 3 different killers. I know the Scream series did as well, but there's 4 films in that, so I don't really count that. Brittain Fry, who plays Ken, he was in Hide and Go Shriek as Randy Flint. That's all I have for this film. So,
okay, well, thank you. What about you, Erik?
Okay, well, as Nathan said, shot in January of 1990 and then reshoots in March of that year to bump up the running time, which included the death of Maria and the death of Tom in the lumberyard when they go off looking for the weapons, because both of them apparently had very brief or even off-screen deaths in the original cut of the movie. It was shot under the title of Nightlight and then subsequently released in some territories as Stab in the Dark. Let me see other stuff about the cast. Yeah, there's a featurette on the movie on a previous release in the past, I think of 2010, where the guy who plays Michael, his name is Garen Grigsby. He says in an interview that his wife was a cast member of Friday the 13th Part 7, but he doesn't mention her name. And I tried Googling it and I couldn't find any information, but apparently he is married to somebody who is in Friday the 13th Part 7. Yeah, Britton Fry plays Ken, also in Hide and Go Shriek, as Joseph said. Michael Harris, who plays the creepy neighbor Morgan, he went on to be in a short film about Justin's favorite theme park. It was the 2001 movie Welcome to Willy World.
Oh, Erik.
Hope Marie Carlton, who plays Janine, she was in Slaughterhouse Rock, and she was the poster girl in Elm Street 4, the Dream Master. She's the woman who lures Joey to his waterbed death. Devon Jenkin, who plays Sarah. Again, I have no idea who these characters are in the movie. She was also in Twisted Nightmare, and she was in the music video for Free Fallin' by Tom Petty. Marta Kober, of course, we've mentioned her. She was in Friday the 13th Part 2. She plays the pizza delivery girl in this. She was also in Neon Maniacs. And I didn't realize this, but in the early 90s, she worked for Death Row and Def Jam Records. So she was in the hippity-hoppity world back then. And that's all the background I have. Justin, over to you.
Right. Well, thank you. I haven't got a great deal more, apart from Marta Kober. She apparently got the acting gig on this, although it wasn't really much. It was more of a cameo from an old high school friend. And apparently her only quote about this movie was, "I thought it was terrible." So, well, there you go. Brandy Burkett, who, as we talked about, was shot 2 scenes of a death scene, and like you say, she didn't know which one they're going to use. She was she went to acting school with Britton Fry, who played Ken, and they sort of bumped into each other, and they coincidentally found out they were both going to be appearing in the same movie. She apparently she said that Sally Mattison was cooperative, patient, and honest as a director, whatever that might mean. So everything else, I think, has been covered, apart from, of course, as I teased earlier, it was the Simpsons reference. And I was looking up some of the cast, and the character plays Frank, David Lawrence. He likes to paint Simpsons characters on denim jackets. So there you go. None of you guessed that.
None of us would have guessed that in a million years.
No.
Thank you, Justin, for that.
That's okay. Maria Ford.
Oh, and Erik.
Yeah.
Sarah, that you wasn't sure who she was. She died in the car. She got drilled through the back. Do you remember that scene?
Start.
Yeah, at the very start. She was also in the late 80s hilarious women in prison spoof called Slammer Girls. That movie's so funny.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, it's good.
Maria Ford was also, I don't know if you've seen the, heard the commentary that that was done for the release, one of the releases of the film. And I think the other cast members or the people on there saying that Maria Ford was a little bit odd in the thing. And they during the striptease, they were mesmerised by her breasts. But she's still... Sorry?
I was listening to that, and they say her boobs are a bit weird.
Yes. The Tony, who did the commentary, did a grand job on that. It's definitely worth a listen. But Maria Ford is still acting, and if you look at her, she's apparently known, I think they talked about her love of wigs. She's still acting, but I think she's got that. I mean, it's a shame. I mean, I think it's a well-known Hollywood thing for men and male and female actors to get work done, but it looks like she's had a lot of work done. Unlike Marta Kober, who again, what?
No.
No, not saying no. I mean, Marta Kober is kind of famously, we talked about this before on some of the other episodes, and the time when they recorded the commentary, they were discussing that she had genuinely been missing for like 4 or 5 years. And she has more recently come back onto the scene, and she's been at Friday the 13th Part 2 reunions. Presumably without the director there.
She was supposed to be at a Friday the 13th convention that Nathan and I went to when Nathan had Amy Steele help him help Wes propose or whatever. I can't remember who did it, but she was supposed to be there, so we were kind of looking forward to meeting her. And then at the very last second, they're like, "Oh, she had to cancel for we don't know why, but she couldn't make it."
I think she has been at some recently, and I think she's had her very well documented troubles, which we won't delve into at the moment. Obviously, wish her well. But yeah, that's all the comments I have. So, do we have Joseph? Do you have there what our dear listeners have said about Slumber Party Massacre 3?
Yes, this is from Facebook. Logan Abbey says, "Love 1 and 2, 3 is garbage. I rank it with Sleepaway Camp 3.
Oh, Nathan, your heart must be breaking.
I replied to him, and I was like, Sleepaway Camp 3 is my favorite in the series.
You told him.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying I told him off. I was just saying, like, I had to give love.
I understand. Lyman Sogan, that's Lyman Sogan, says...
Sounds so familiar.
Yeah, that's the new spin on that hoary old joke right there. Another abrupt shift in tone from the previous film, but still highly enjoyable, even if not as fun as The Untouchable Part 2. Jenny Hall Cameron says, "Wasn't one of my favorites. Honestly forgettable. Has been many years since I've seen it. One of the worst cases of a killer killing, and then you have the dumbass friends off to the side not doing anything. What were they doing when he was having sex or attempting to at the end? Feverishly watching? I did laugh to myself when I did a, hey, I know that person thing. One of the police officers was the basketball scout from Cutting Class, and I didn't catch that. Because I'm a big fan of Cutting Class, I should have caught that. Antonio Astris Joseph Archikovic. That's a long name. I think it's 2 people, but anyway. Says, be nice to Uncle Girls. I actually really like this one a lot. The first one is my favorite non-Friday the 13th slasher, and the second has grown on me through the years. But this one has such a lovable nastiness to it that had me hooked from the first viewing. I know it may not be everybody's favorite in the series, but the late 80s, early 90s aesthetic has a certain charm that I absolutely adore. The killer's cheesy ass over-the-top delivery, the interaction between the girls, the dark score, a cameo from Marta Kober, the use of a Freddy Krueger mask, and the house for sale sign kill, all wrapped up with a badass end-credit song makes this my second favorite in the franchise. Michael Ferrari, that's Meep. We all know Meep. He says, I kind of want to wear a nightie and have a pillow fight to celebrate this forthcoming episode. And I wonder if he's done that yet.
Send pictures, Meep.
Yes, send pictures, Meep. Tristan Comer says, my second favorite of the trilogy. The first will always be my number 1. I actually like the dark direction this one takes, and also feel like the ending gives it an extra gut punch, with Jackie not being able to defeat the killer in time for Diane to live. It still has a share of fun moments we love the series for. One of my favorites being the scene involving Duncan and the pizza delivery girl. Overall, probably a 7 out of 10. Shane Lambert says, love it, even though it's not as fun as the first 2. Still has big hair, Maria. Creepy red herrings, Morgan. Not to mention Jan Birch, who's simply credited as Weirdo. Topped off with spontaneous topless dancing. Zachary Paul Franklin says, I listened to the Hysteria episode about the first film recently and couldn't agree more. I wasn't crazy about the Slumber Party Massacre when I first saw it as a kid, but each time I revisit, I fall a little more in love with the goofy slasher flick. I know people are crazy for Part 2, but I've never been able to get into it. Part 3, however, is one vicious piece of work. The extended cut suffers from some unnecessary sexual violence, but overall, SPM3 moves at a breakneck pace, offers plenty of bloody kills, and some genuine suspense moments. Parts 1 and 3 for the win. And Neil Lemoy says 1, 3, and F Part 2. And I disagree with F Part 2 because Part 2 is the best of the series, bar none. Joshua Grattan says worst of the 3, but decent for an occasional night. Tom Normandy says loved it, super fun. Lucas Garges says liked it a lot, although it does get a little silly once the killer is revealed, which was done too early in my opinion. Donnie Ibarra says it rocks. Jake the Snake McCoy says my least favorite of the trilogy. I like the silliness of the first 2 because that really fits a movie series with the name Slumber Party Massacre. But they tried too hard to make this dark, and it's just not as fun when the killer's motive is he was touched by his uncle. Steve Kent says, not seen any. Okay, I guess you have some homework to do, Steve Kent. That's Steve period Kent, by the way. Gary Yoon says, certainly an improvement on Part 2. While I don't hate that, it was all too silly. This one is a bit more back to basics and is a fine time passer, but not really fantastic by any means. David Ladd says a solid slasher film and definitely the darkest film in the trilogy. I don't watch this one as much as the previous 2 in the series, but I still enjoy it. Over on Twitter, Brandon Cooper said it's the 3rd Slumber Party Massacre film. Wow. Thank you, Captain Obvious. Jacob says not as light as the first 2, but still enjoyable. Space Debris, I like that name, by the way, says, I couldn't make it to the end. I love the first one. I'm not really a sequels guy. Cinephalis, I like that name as well, says, like Part 2, Part 3 is a gift from the filmmaking gods. And on Instagram, Outer Order Studios says, definitely the worst of the 3, but I still dig it. Discovery Dairy Maine says, THC on Instagram? Thank you. Well, you're welcome. And finally, Tony Allen Brown, who ran the Slumber Party Sorority House website a while back, I don't know if he still does, says, guest call-in from yours truly, would love to participate. Sorry, Tony, I just now read this. So.
Oh, Joseph. Tony, we would have loved to have you on, so apologies for that.
Tony would have had a lot of background info, too.
I was about to say, I don't know if anybody knows as much about this series as Tony. I mean, he did the commentaries on all 3 of them.
Yeah. I know. Oh, sorry, Tony. I mean, we all should have spotted that on Facebook. Sorry, I just don't use Facebook that much.
Is on Instagram.
On Instagram, sorry.
I'm not on Instagram, so I didn't know.
To be fair, I'm still new to this whole Instagram thing, and I'm trying to keep up with it. So, sorry I missed that, Tony.
Yeah, and also, to be fair, we are recording this about 4 weeks in advance, so...
Yeah.
So yeah.
But wow, that's all the feedback I have, and that was a lot for this film.
Fantastic. Okay, well, thank you for everyone who wrote in. So, and if you would like to contact the show, this is how you do it.
The content of this podcast was provided by Justin, Joseph, Erik, and Nathan. If you enjoy our show and are willing to provide a donation, please consider becoming a Patreon subscriber at patreon.com/The Hysteria Continues. Your monetary kindness keeps the show on the air, and in return, you'll have access to exclusive content not released elsewhere. Also, like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter to stay up to date on all of our future shows and Blu-ray commentary releases. For general feedback, our email address is thehysteriacontinues@gmail.com.
So yeah, please do get in contact with the show. It's obviously great to get the Instagram and Facebook comments, but you can also contact us in other ways. So do we want to do an after the credits? I think you'd have fun with this one, Nathan, wouldn't you? So here we go.
Don't press stop. After the credits show.
Okay. So I'm thinking that after the credits were finished, Jackie's parents came back home. We're a little shocked at what happened. And they got together with the families of all the dead victims and sued the police station, and now they own that town. Because if the cops would have shown up when they first called them, then a lot of them might still be alive. So the cops really failed in this movie. Like, failed. They get an F.
What do you think they wore at their funerals?
All black. It looked like a goth convention.
Yeah. Do you think it was? Do you think there was a lot of mourning going on and therapy?
Yes. I mean, can you imagine it, like you're told, oh, you know, your son, oh, yeah, he was gutted with a drill last night. Sorry about your luck.
I know, Nathan. This must keep you up at night, mustn't it?
Well, and also, like, they look so terrified before they die. That's kind of sad too.
Let me just say the killing of these teenagers has been tragic. But, hey, you know, shit happens.
Let's all take a moment to reflect and honor their memories.
Okay, I'm done.
Okay.
Yeah.
But no, I think that they have a good case against these cops.
I think it's very lazy.
And don't you love that the cops knock on the door like right after everything has gone down? Like they literally show up like 1 second too late.
Also, they only turn up after the creepy neighbor phones. The one who's spying on them.
Self-doctor. Did you notice that? I wonder if that was a little sly bit of irony or satire.
I like the when the doctor calls and there's a guy, like what he sees is this guy with a drill like attacking people and he's like, I'd like to report a disturbance. Oh my God, there's a mass murder going on across the street.
Yes. Well.
But yeah, so that's what I think. I think the family sued and they got a lot of money for it. And that cop who wouldn't listen lost his job.
But do you think that would make an entertaining sequel?
Well, mine this time wasn't necessarily a sequel idea as it was, this is just what I think happened to these characters afterwards. What about you?
I'm trying to think. I do. The only person who survived, or I was relatively unscathed, was the pizza delivery guy, wasn't it? No, he did die. No, what am I talking about? No, he's the
the pizza delivery girl.
Yeah, no, I don't know. All I can think what might happen in a sequel is a group of big-haired, buxom sorority babes throw a slumber party and their boyfriends turn up in masks and then someone turns up with a drill and kills them. I know it hasn't been done before, but...
Wow.
I'd watch it.
They dance as well.
I'm going to copyright that right now so no one else can, just in case if you see that happening, you know.
So fresh, so original.
I know.
Do they topless dance in your version as well, Justin?
Yes, although actually, what actually would be a better way of doing it, actually, you could actually, well, mind you, I suppose it's every David Duchovny movie, is have the boys topless dancing and then the girls turn up in masks and scare them. That could be the twist.
I think it would be funny to switch the roles and have a girl with the drill killing all the guys.
Yeah. Or she could have a girl and she's actually got on her nipples are drill bits.
Wow. Now that's something I'd watch.
So she drills the boys to death while they're screwing.
Oh.
It works on so many levels.
It does. I know, it's genius. Sorry, anyway.
True. What about you, Eric?
Well, I think that Jackie's parents come back and they see the pizza stain on the carpet, and that carpet looked brand new, and they are not impressed, especially when they started, throwing bleach onto the stain. How are they going to sell the house now? I think the parents might go slightly mad, as in deranged because of the pizza stain, and they go on a killing spree. Yeah. And they dance topless as well while they're doing it.
Do you think that they're more upset about the pizza stain than all the blood stains in the carpet and on the walls?
I would think so, yeah.
Okay.
Like when the girls walk into that room first, I always look at that carpet and go, "Wow, that carpet looks so clean." And then I despair then when he drops the pizza slice.
And of course, it lands face down.
Of course it does. Isn't that just typical? Oh.
Yes. Joseph.
Well, Eric kind of stole my idea, but in a lot of these films, the parents are always absent for one reason or another. So I'm imagining these parents are aloof to the world around them. So when they come back and find Jackie, the mess in the house, they're like, "Jackie, you're grounded." And then it has that typical sitcom music. Dun, 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 dun.
Poor Jackie.
Yeah. Just can't catch a break.
Well, she lived at least.
Yeah, that's true. And also I like the way she went from being, you can't kill someone if they're knocked out, to drilling and being covered in blood. All in the space of about 10 seconds.
Yeah. I'm telling you, though, if it was me, I would be on Diane's side. Let's just kill him.
So would I.
I'd be like, and if Jackie was like, you can't kill somebody, it's just lying there, I'd be like, okay, Jackie, you go in the other room. I'm going to take care of this.
Yeah, if somebody said, like, don't kill him, I'd be like, what? Are we in Wrong Turn 5? I'd be like, I'd get that drill to their head.
Oh, Eric.
Wrong Turn 4 makes the worst decision, though, with the don't kill them.
Yes.
Oh, my God. that really is one of the dumbest slasher movie decisions I've ever seen. And this is saying something, because I've seen a lot of stupidity in these movies, but one just takes the cake.
Okay, right. Well, that was after credits, and you know what's coming next, don't you?
You do indeed.
It's my joke of the week. It's so fantastic.
Why is watching Slumber Party Massacre 3 like watching England, Wales, and Scotland during the heatwave last month? Because both allow you to see Britain fry.
I had a feeling you were going to go there. I really did.
Great minds, Nathan.
Yeah.
Is that your Susie out?
No, that was me with a Toya album I found at the boot fair for 20p. With
you're scratching it.
Scratching of a nail, yeah.
Wow, you actually spent money on a Toya album?
Well, I needed a new plant coaster.
Well, hang on.
You went to a boot sale?
Yeah, well, it's you don't have boot sales. It's like car
flea
boots.
market, like a flea market, Nathan.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
Because over here, boots are like something you wear on your feet.
Well, they are here as well, but don't you have a car boot?
No, they've got trunks.
It's called a trunk. It's called a trunk here.
We call them car boots.
I
so
call
the
something
boot of
else
a car.
trunk, if you know what I mean.
Pardon?
I call something else a trunk, if you know what I mean.
Your nose?
Like an elephant's trunk. No, further south.
Junk in the trunk?
Your beard?
You know what I mean.
Do you mean your little button mushroom?
I don't have a button mushroom.
That's Justin's joke of the week.
You said that before.
Oh, the shade. The shade.
The shade. Well, we did see, well, mind you, as we saw when Erik stripped that drunk cast, that thing will be throwing no shade. So,
well,
what?
I'm going to get it out someday, and you're going to see how wrong you are.
Oh, God.
So, yes, if you want to, the next drunk cast is, so all you need to do is become a dear Patreon listener, and then you might have a chance to see. Actually, we were talking when we did like the video cast. We did think about doing a special Patreon video cast at some point for you,
do we know
dear listeners.
Record video?
Well, I'm sure you must be able to do that. I'm sure there must be. Well, we'll look into it. But we are doing, and it'll probably be out by the time this is out. I don't know, because, again, we are recording quite a long way in advance, is we are resurrecting the top 3 for the Patreon, and we are starting with the top 3 what the fuck moments. And, of course, this was the one that Nathan wasn't on. So if you want to hear Nathan's what the fuck moments from slash movies...
I wasn't on it.
Were you not on it? Did we... Oh,
it was Happy Birthday to Me, and back then it was actually we did 5 choices.
Wow!
Yeah. Can you imagine top 5s?
No.
That's a bit much.
No hard enough time for top 3s as it is.
So just check out the Patreon.
I was there with you guys in spirit.
I know. You were listening.
Were the episodes out before I came on the scene?
Well, yeah. Well, you went.
Yes, there was 2 or 3.
But that's been a really long time ago.
It has been a long time ago. So it's been a very long time.
Yeah, listen to the quality of the episode like this episode, and then listen to the Happy Birthday to Me episode.
And you will find that nothing has changed.
Yeah.
Except the sound quality.
The sound quality may have changed a little bit, but it's still the same. Yeah. Same shit, different day. So, anything else we want to say before we talk about what we're covering next time?
I want to say that this movie's amazing. Mm-hmm. I want to say that this series is amazing. Mm-hmm. And I want to say that I wish there was a part 4.
One day. I'm sure. Was there ever talk about rebooting the series, I wonder?
I don't know. I mean, probably. I know they made like Cheerleader Massacre, but I mean, I don't really consider that part of the series because, I mean, to me, to be a slumber party movie, you need a slumber party and you need a drill. Like, that's the common theme to all these movies. So unless it has that, then I'm afraid it's a no. Oh, and fun trivia. When I was younger, I used to think that the last slumber party was actually the 4th one in the series, but I was incorrect about that.
I wonder if anyone ever as a sequel in foreign territories.
I think it was somewhere, but I don't know if a reboot of the Slumber Party Massacre series would work because I'm not sure if people still have slumber parties or if they just sit around, on their phones the whole night.
Meep is having a slumber party.
Is he?
Yes.
Well, he said in the comments he was.
Oh.
So, yeah.
I think he was being facetious.
No.
I was watching a Brady Bunch episode, and Marcia and Jan had a slumber party. And I was thinking, man, what if a driller killer showed up?
Can you imagine a mesh-up of the Brady Bunch and a slasher movie? Wow.
Well, maybe that guy could do that.
Who did the Rise of the Boogeyman to do that?
Yeah.
So, okay, well, next time on the Hysteria Continues, I think it's about time we classed it up a little, because I'm not saying that we've had some lowbrow choices, although I am, obviously. So I think it's time that we took the high road and looked at something slightly more intellectual. So next time, I should say, we will be going for a Kevin Costner movie.
Field of Dreams.
Sorry? Not Field of Dreams. No, it's more Field of Screams. It is, of course, Kevin Costner. Oh, thank you. Kevin Costner's one of his first films, not Sizzle Beach, but almost as good as Sizzle Beach, is Shadows Run Black, the terrifying psycho mastery Kevin Costner's debut film, which is actually one of the trashiest films we would have ever covered on this podcast. So I will be attempting to outdo Nathan with my next pick, Shadows Run Black. So if you can bear to watch it, then you can probably find it somewhere on YouTube or somewhere. And also, by the time this comes out, I think, would the next Patreon pick be available, Joseph?
Let's see. This comes out in September. So by the time they hear this, they would have heard The Baby this month in August.
Yeah.
And then September, I guess we can go ahead and announce this because we're recording out of whack. September will be your pick, Justin, which is...
I will be attempting to outdo Nathan. And I think if you've ever seen this movie, you know that I will have succeeded. And it is the spoof Queen Kong. So I'm sure we're very much looking forward to covering that next, aren't we? When we do.
I'm impressed with your choices.
Are you? Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I might have to.
Of course he is.
Well, I might have to go a little bit highbrow next time, but at the moment with this, I'm content to keep scraping the barrel, Nathan's barrel.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, that was Slumber Party Massacre 3, so I hope you enjoyed the show, and if you did, then throw us a little bit of love by joining us on the little Patreon family of all the Hysteria Continues crew, and we'll be bringing more exclusive content to you, and of course we'll be back with the main show next time, so say goodbye to the good people.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
So long.
Change that to where are the Marta Cobas of the podcast.
The two Marta Cobas.
Oh my God, no, don't even. Don't go there.
And you said it looked borderline Nathan. Yeah, totally. It is complete and utter Nathan.
I love that none of our significant others seem to care about the movies that we love. Oh. And it's top 3 what the fudge moments, right?
Yes.
Yes, Butters.
You know, I don't work curse words into my everyday, discussions.
Why the fuck not?
Remember Topless Skateboard Nun?
One touch and the button mushroom goes off.
Sorry?
Nothing. Anyway, so...
Talking about the mushroom again. It's not a button mushroom. It's a bloody huge courgette.